What's up guys, my name is Craig Yates. Welcome back to another video here in the studio. The last time I shot here, I made a video on why I am no longer investing in property. So if you haven't yet, quickly go and watch that and then come back and watch this one because my channel is all about building wealth. And today I'm going to be talking about how to build generational wealth or how to build family wealth or legacy wealth, how to be the top 1% of investors in the world. So if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel so we can learn about building wealth, we can have fun, we can hear from amazing guests on Coffee with Craig. But just hang on a moment because there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. And we're going to find out what that's all about. There's a lot of people that are rich. And when I say rich, I mean they make a lot of money. But what do? They make the money and they go and spend it. They earn $100 or 100 Rand and they spend $100 or 100 Rand. Wealthy people take that 100 Rand or $100 that they make and keep half of it behind. So they spend half, they keep half. But the really wealthy people that build generational wealth, they make sure they only spend 25%. They use that on their housing, on their entertainment, on everything fun. And they make sure to save 75% of all the money that they earn. There are 3 points I'm going to cover with you on building generational wealth. The first point is about accumulation. And we have to accumulate wealth first and foremost. And most of my videos are all on accumulating wealth. So you have to take a percentage of your salary, set it to the side, save it and invest it. Once you've accumulated wealth for yourself, you then need to borrow against that wealth. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So step 1 is accumulate. Step 2 is borrow against what you've created. And then step 3, you've got to die in order to leave that generational wealth, that legacy on for generations to come. Building generational wealth is so much more than just leaving behind money from yourself to the next generation. It's about leaving a skill set, a mindset, and making sure the next generation understands what to do with the money that they're going to be receiving. There's a great saying that I love. It says, hard times produce strong people. Strong people produce good times. Good times produce weak people. Weak people produce hard times. So if you just hand over money to the next generation and they do not understand, first and foremost, the value of money, which is incredibly important, then the discipline of hard work, and how to build a business and run a business, that money is going to disappear like so many family fortunes have disappeared. We've heard about it, a lottery winner receiving a windfall of money and then the money disappearing. The second generation receiving so much money and going and blowing it. It's important that you leave behind a skill set, a mindset, and those 3 things that I spoke about. Making sure you have a value for money, you understand the hard work of discipline, and you understand how to run and build a business. The reason I'm saying this is because most family legacies are left because someone started a business, a family business of sorts. And the family business was there because it was to increase income. You have to increase your income in order to take that income and move it to the side. Like I said earlier, you have to save and invest it. So that business is the center of where it all begins. You then have to move money across into savings. So first, family business moved across into real estate or stocks, or nowadays, even into crypto. So the interesting thing, crypto is new money. You might see people now that have made a lot of money out of crypto go and be all flashy. Old school, old money is not about being flashy because they've learned the lessons, they've learned the mindset, they've learned the value of money, and they don't go and just spend because more important than anything else is to save and invest for the next generation. New money, crypto, they go out, they live a lavish lifestyle, they buy the fancy house, the fancy car, and I can tell you, they are not building generational wealth. So, generational wealth is about building a family business, taking that family business and going and investing into real estate and stocks. So you started a business, you've started to earn some income, and you're now setting your money aside. You're investing into real estate, stocks, maybe even crypto, you name it. You're now investing money. When do you sell and realize your profit? Well, wealthy people never sell. And that is the biggest lesson I need you to learn. People often ask me, Craig, when must I sell my property? When must I sell my shares? When must I sell my crypto? Because it's at all-time high. Well, wealthy people do not sell. They accumulate wealth, and then what they do is they go to a bank and they borrow against the assets that they have accumulated. Now, what am I saying? Well, once you've created a big amount of wealth, banks want to lend you money. The wealthiest and most powerful families in the world take their asset base of what they've accumulated over all the years, they go to the investment bank and they borrow against it. So they use their assets, whether it's real estate, whether it's assets, and now all of a sudden you can actually even lend against your crypto portfolio. So they go to the bank, a bank like Morgan Stanley, a bank like Bank of America, and they lend against their assets. Right now, over the last 5 years, the wealthiest families have lent more money against their asset base than they ever have in the past. So here in South Africa, people often say, I don't like debt. I want to get out of debt. And rightly so, because most people, when they think of debt, they think of credit card debt. How do I borrow money to go buy fancy shoes, buy my fancy house, buy my fancy car? And that is not how you build generational wealth. Because remember what I said at the beginning of the video, you need to save 75% of your income. If you're saving 75% of your income, you're not going and living a lavish lifestyle. So you take your money, you accumulate it. Once you've built R1 million, $1 million, you're able to lend against it. They say the first million is the hardest, and it is. But once you have that asset base, you can then go and lend against it. And that is what people are doing right now. And I'm going to explain what that is all about. You've done step one. You've accumulated R1 million or $1 million. So well done. The first million is always the hardest. Now, you don't want to sell because we never want to sell all that hard work and that effort that we've put into making that R1 million. Because we don't want to pay tax, but we want to use that money to lend against it. So what am I saying? Well, if you were going to go and buy something on your credit card, you're going to pay 17.5% interest. Well, we don't want to use that kind of lending and that kind of borrowing. Banks like asset-based lending, asset-based borrowing. So if I built up R1 million portfolio, whether it's stocks, whether it's mutual funds, whether it's even in a crypto portfolio nowadays, I can go and take it and give it to the bank and I can lend against it. So if I'm earning a 12% return, so I'm earning 120,000 Rand in one single year from the return, whether it's interest, whether it's dividends, whether it's capital gain from that investment, I'm earning money, which is great. And I want to keep doing that for generations to come. But now what happens if I can lend at less than 12%? I'm getting interest arbitrage. And if I can earn 12% and I can borrow at our prime rate here in South Africa at 7%, I've got a 5% growth between lending and earning. And if I can run that for generations to come, I can earn that forever. Let's say I leave my R1 million at the bank generating 12% interest. I then go to the bank again and say, you've got my R1 million, my $1 million, can I borrow against it? I want to go and buy some real estate. I want to go buy a property investment. Now, instead of buying R1 million or $1 million property cash, I borrow against my initial investment. I borrow at 7%, which will cost me a little more than 7,000 Rand a month in order to finance that investment. And I put a tenant in who's going to pay off my bond. After 20 years, my bond will be completely paid off. So there's no more debt on that property. And as properties double every 10 years, my R1 million or $1 million property 10 years later will be worth 2 million. 10 years after that will be worth 4 million. And it will be completely paid off with no debt. Now, what's happened to my original $1 million or R1 million investment at the bank? Well, if it keeps growing at 12%, it's now going to be worth over 9 million Rand. So I have my initial investment that's worth over 9 million Rand. I have my property that's now worth over 4 million Rand. Together, my wealth has grown to over 13 million Rand because I didn't sell out to go and buy another investment. I kept my original investment and borrowed against it and used other people's money, being the bank, and other people's money, being my tenants, to pay off that bond. So what I've done is I haven't been greedy with my money. I haven't gone and spent all my money. I've made sure I'm living off 25% of my income. I'm saving and investing 75%, and now I'm going to manipulate that money by giving it to the bank and lending against it. It doesn't mean I lend against it and go and live a lifestyle. It means I lend against that money and use it to make money elsewhere. You've done step 1, you've accumulated wealth. You've done step 2, you've borrowed against that accumulation. And why do you want to borrow? Well, we never want to sell. Now, the problem is we're going to get to step 3. And step 3 is about dying. And unfortunately, we're all going to die. But to leave behind wealth for generations to come, you need to think about what happens when I pass away. I need to plan for my death when I'm alive. And wealthy people know they never want to sell assets. So they want to protect themselves when they die one day, and they do it in various ways. If they have a family business that is the source of that income and they want to leave it behind for generations, the family business mustn't be owned by them. The family business needs to be owned by a family trust, because a trust can live on forever. And maybe that's a video for another time. I don't want to get into it in too much detail. But a family trust doesn't die. An individual dies. And if I die and something that I own is in a family trust, I don't have to sell it and I don't have to pay tax, which is great. Another way around it is life insurance. Well, healthy people understand they can borrow against their asset base, but they can also pay a little bit of money every single month to a bank or life insurance company that one day when they pass away and they need to pay estate duty, they need to pay capital gains tax, they need to pay all those costs, the insurance company steps in and goes, here you go, here's a check for you to cover all those costs. Because you don't want to sell your property, you don't want to sell your business, you don't want to sell your assets, the life insurance company takes care of it on your behalf, which is amazing. So you've got a family business, you've got a trust, you have life insurance to protect. You have to protect yourself now when you're alive. You cannot build wealth in a single generation. You have to build wealth over generations. So you got to stop being selfish. Stop thinking about yourself. Think about your future kids, their kids, the animals, the dogs, the families, you name it. The best thing you can do in life is be of service to other people. Think about what happens when you're no longer here. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to grind, to work, to hustle, to do everything in your power to make sure that you're making the generation stronger, more equipped, and in a better situation so that they can live the life of their dreams when that comes around. Because you want to make sure you're making it easier for them, but you want to make sure that they are stronger, they're equipped, they understand money, they understand business, they understand how to build wealth for themselves and for their kids. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe. Until next week, I'm out.